Spring is here. Well, almost. The official start of spring and the spring equinox happens on March 19th this year at 11:06 p.m. On this day, the daylight and night will be as equal as it can be, as the sun is at its zenith while it travels directly over the equator. For a brief moment in time, all of the world is in balance. Whew. I don't know about you, but I live for these brief moments when all seems fixed and right and well-balanced. The spirit of this astrological occurrence is the pause between winter and spring. As a Leo, I am also looking forward to the returning of the sun. From this point on, the sun is growing in power as the days lengthen, bringing warmth to the northern half of the earth until the peak at the summer solstice in June. Cultures from around the world have marked the equinox by different festivals, generally filled with reverence for the coming spring and a time to sow the seeds in preparation of the year. Some celebrate the new year now versus January, as the spring is filled with beginnings and the promise of a brighter future. This year, I have been listening deeply through the winter. I have rested. I've spent time fluffing my nest or focusing inwardly at myself, my home, and my little family. I have let ideas incubate and roll around in my mind. I have spent time listening to my needs better than I have in years, which means as spring arrives, I am refreshed and ready. I cannot wait to get my hands deep in the soil to grow things, especially food, as the price of groceries continues to increase, which I'm sure is not just a burden on my family. Besides, there's nothing quite like a ripe tomato eaten off the vine in the depth of summer. Most of all, I want to create, begin new projects, stretch it out, and dance in the sunlight. Isn't that what spring is all about? The whole world is calling us to go outside and stare in awe at the flowers, the returning birds, the sounds of the insects, and the brilliant sunsets. What a glorious time it is to be alive. When I found the UU in 2010, after leaving a conservative Christian tradition, I was desperately seeking a church where I fit. Here I found a place where my wondering was not chastised, but encouraged. A place where my values aligned, and a place where my children would grow to know love and compassion, a desire to work for justice, and the ability to ascertain for themselves what their spiritual truth is and will be. On one fateful day, I got up the courage to call our dearly beloved Barbara Van Dyne to inquire about a full moon women's group. I had no idea what it was about, other than that it was a gathering of women near the full moon. I was 5 months pregnant with a little one at home and had struggled to find community. Barbara had brought the divine feminine to our church in a talk, which eventually became the full moon group. Did Barbara know when she formed the group over 25 years ago, and it continues to this day, how much it would transform my life? And I am sure I am not the only one. Did she know it would be my first introduction into feminine spirituality and the idea the divine could look like me, be like me? Did she know I would finally find a place where I felt blessedly, imperfectly, messily whole for the first time? You see, the ancients believed the creator of the world couldn't just be a white bearded man in the sky. They had seen birth firsthand and knew creation came from a woman, and from her blood and anguish came the seeds of life. In ancient civilizations all over the world, female deities were not excluded, but often existed well before their male counterparts. For without them, how could the world have been created at all? My mind was blown at this idea. I was introduced to goddesses from around the world, many I had never ever heard of, and all their beautiful complexities. Take Freya, the Norse goddess of spring. I think we have a picture of her. Freya. She's one of my favorites. She was one of the most revered deities and ruled over love and fertility and was represented by flowers of all kinds. Oh, and she is also the goddess of battle and death. Because goddesses are complex and multifaceted, much like people. The goddesses were called upon in times of both joy and sorrow, for strength and compassion, for fierceness and love. Goddesses from around the world made shit happen. Oh, wait. Is that one of those four-letter words? Oops. In any case, I found in the myths of the goddesses the face of myself. I found all the pieces of myself were accepted and loved without exception. There was no sin to run from, only the desire to live gently in the world, authentically and with loving compassion, using all the wisdom women bring to the table. This is when I began my discovery of the divine feminine and our blessed Mother Earth. I began listening to the cycles, paying attention to the world around me, and finding my roots in the wheel of the year, which for me is a brilliant way to mark time. Relatively new, the modern Wheel of the Year was established in the 1940s by Robert Graves, who combined the 4 Celtic cross-quarter fire festivals with the recognition of both the solstices and the equinoxes. Hard to say. While no singular ancient culture celebrated all 8 of these Sabbats, modern pagans routinely celebrate, roughly every 6 weeks, a festival to acknowledge the turning of the wheel of nature and earth. These are Imbolc, Ostara, or the vernal equinox, Beltane, the summer solstice, Lammas, Mabon, or the autumn equinox, Samhain, and Yule. For many Wiccans and pagans, this time of year is marked by the festival of the spring fertility goddess Ostara on the vernal equinox, believed to be celebrated by the ancient Germanic people. In some stories, Ostara was thought to be a hare, or she turned a bird into a hare, who upon turning continued to build nests and lay eggs in them, hence the idea of rabbits laying eggs. Other interpretations discuss how hunters and gatherers, being weary after a long winter, hunting out the first pastel eggs in a season of gratitude, hence the hunting for eggs. Either way, the celebrations have evolved over time in which the egg, a symbol of fertility and new life, plays a central role. Another important aspect was the marking of time to know when to sow seeds. A ritual of Ostara commonly practiced is the blessing of the seeds. Oftentimes, this is to bless literal seeds, to ask for prosperity in the harvest. In agricultural communities around the world, they knew, this is it, y'all. Whatever you plant now, whatever seeds you get into the ground will determine your harvest for the fall and your winter to come. The winter is a time for planning, for getting ready, for incubation of ideas for the future. Spring is coming. Are you ready for planting? What is ready to sprout in you? What dreams have been percolating that are ready to surface? What places do you feel called to work the clods out, move the roots, and nourish the soil to grow something new? What seeds are you wanting to bless this season? Perhaps your thumb isn't very green, or you lack the space to plant as you would prefer. That's okay. Even tiny seeds in small places grow out of cracks in cliffs and spaces on the sidewalk. Last summer, I visited the Apostle Islands that lie just off the coast of northern Wisconsin in Lake Superior. We walked along the Lake Superior Trail, marveling at the cliffs where waves crashed in over thousands of years, made and continue making sea caves in the rock. Along the high cliffs, pine trees grew, often with roots hanging all about, reaching for the soil well beneath the stone that they were growing on top of. The green stretched high into the blue sky where the roots grounded to the cliffs, seeking out the tiniest rich nutrients to grow. For those of you who don't know, although Kelly already told you, I am a Montessori educator. In the Montessori pedagogy, we discuss how education is about removing obstacles. A tree stretches its branches to the light, no matter what. Around boulders, around other trees, around all obstacles, until they find their way to the nourishing sunlight. The tree still grows, even if it isn't straight, has to work harder to get there. As a Montessorian, we work to remove the obstacles so the child can grow easier, given the tools they need to reach their optimal potential. Their potential, not ours. Just like a tiny acorn, they already have everything they need inside to grow. We are only giving them the environment in which to grow. So, what obstacles are in your way? What environment will create the growth you need to reach your greatest potential? Will it have the right drainage, the right fertilizer and microbes, the right nutrients and water for your beautiful soul to flourish? What do you need? Before we close, I would like to have an abbreviated blessing of the seeds. So, on my altar space, I have this little bowl of seeds. There's some sunflower seeds in here, some wildflower seeds, and these I look forward to planting in my garden to create habitat for creepy crawlies, the butterflies, the lizards, and birds, while creating beauty in my little garden. I would like to invite you to consider all those seeds, both literal and metaphorical, that you are ready to bless in your life. Please hold them in your heart and mind. Close your eyes if you would like. Let's send loving, healing, glowing energy to these seeds. Know how inside them is everything that they need to grow. Surround these seeds with hope. And know that both these seeds and you are deeply loved in this next turn of the wheel. You can open your eyes when you're ready. We are still in a liminal stage of transition. We're in the in-between, where we are waiting with anticipation for our next settled minister. In this blessed space, we are preparing the garden, planting the seeds, and looking toward our future with hope. I can't wait to see the extravagant, spicy, delicious, show-stopping, beautiful garden that we will weave together with our dreams. Thank you for walking this path with me. Blessed be. Namaste. Amen.